I am back. Today, we're at the beach, and our story today is going to be about what lives in a shell. Homes for animals. When I'm reading today's story, I want you to think about the setting of the story, where the story takes place, by the ocean, in the water. I want you to think about some of the things you might have seen when you've been to the water's edge before or at the beach. Some of the things that have been alive, crawling through the water, maybe through the sand. And think about some of those things that you've found in the sand that are empty now, that perhaps were a home for a creature, but that creature has outgrown that home and has moved on. Let's get to our story. The title of our story is called What Lives in a Shell, and the author is Kathleen Wiedner-Zofeld, and the illustrations are by Helen K. Davey. What lives in a shell? What lives in a shell? Do you know what this is? It is hard as stone, but it is not a stone. It is smooth like glass, but it is not glass. It is hollow inside like a cup, but it is not a cup. It is a shell. An animal made it. The shell was the animal's home. You live in a house or in an apartment building. That is your home. Your home keeps you safe and warm. Lots of animals have homes. Birds build nests. Ants make tunnels underground. And a bear likes to live in a cave. Here is the animal that lives in this kind of shell. It is called a snail, a land snail. A land snail is born with a tiny shell. As long as the snail lives, it keeps on growing. As the snail grows, its shell grows with it. The shell keeps the snail safe. You can go in and out of your home. You can run to the playground. You can wait outside for the bus. A snail never leaves its home. It takes its home with it wherever it goes. The snail pokes its soft head and its one big foot out of the opening in its shell. It uses its foot to inch along. A snail is very slow. Birds like to eat snails. When a bird or other enemy comes around, a snail cannot run away. It pulls its head and foot inside its shell, and it closes the door. The snail is safe. Other kinds of animals live in shells too. Shells come in many sizes, shapes, and colors. Turtles live in shells. A turtle shell can be bumpy or smooth. Most are rounded on top and flat on the belly. Baby turtles have little shells. As the babies grow bigger, their shells grow bigger. A turtle has 4 legs. It pokes its legs, head, and tail through the openings in its shell. Even though it has 4 legs, a turtle is slow. Have you ever had a turtle race? If a frog and a turtle were in a race, who do you think would win? What about a cat and a turtle? If a turtle sees a cat, it might be frightened. It may think the cat wants to eat it. A turtle cannot run as fast as a cat. The turtle pulls its head and legs and tail into its shell. The cat pats the turtle with its paw. The turtle won't come out. It is safe inside its shell home. When you go to the seashore, you can find many different kinds of shells. You may see a crab walking on the sand. A crab has 10 legs. On its front legs are 2 claws. A hard shell covers its claws. and the rest of its body. A crab shell fits it like a suit of armor. The armor helps keep the crab safe from enemies. But just as you outgrow your favorite shirt, a crab outgrows its shell. When it gets too tight, the crab pulls it out underneath its new shell. You may find snails buried in the sand. Some of them do not look much like the land snails. Whelks and conchs are types of snails that are found only by the sea. Here are some different kinds of sea snail shells. Have you ever seen a snail shell walking along on crab legs? A hermit crab has its hard claws in front, but the back end of its body has a soft shell. Its shell is too soft to keep it safe from enemies. A hermit crab lives in an empty snail shell. After a while, the hermit crab grows too big for its shell, so he looks for a bigger one. Some are too big, some are too small. Finally, he finds the one he likes. He throws away the old shell out and crawls into the new one. Now the new shell is his home. The snail shell helps him keep him safe. You can look for clam and oyster shells at the beach too. Clams and oysters are animals. They have no legs. They do not have heads or tails. Their bodies are soft, but they are animals. Clams and oysters grow two hard shells. The top shell and the bottom shell look almost alike. The two shells are connected by a hinge. Scallops also have two shells. Here are some different kinds of scallop shells. Most clams and oysters hardly move at all. They open up their shells to take in food and water. They close their shells tightly when enemies are around. Some scallops can swim. A scallop does not swim like a fish though. First it opens its two shells, then it snaps them together quickly. This gets the scallop where it wants to go. When you find a shell, carefully look inside. It will probably be empty. If a shell is empty, it may mean the animal has died, or the animal has outgrown the shell and left it behind. If the animal is at home, you can watch it for a while. See if you can tell how it eats. How does it move? What does it do when it feels frightened? When you go, leave the animal where you found it. Animals are happiest in their natural surroundings. If a shell is empty, you can take it home with you. Try to find as many different kinds of shells as you can. Whether the shells you find are big or small, plain or fancy, remember, a shell is someone's home. The end. So today, boys and girls, I brought some friends with me, not real friends, but these friends have shells for their home. The first friend you may recognize. Does anyone know what this is? You're right, if you said turtle, yeah, absolutely. Here is my friend a turtle. A turtle has a shell for his home. When he gets frightened, he pulls his head inside his shell and can hide. Another friend from the ocean that has a shell is a lobster. A lobster has a hard outer shell on its claws, its tail, and its body. Another friend from the ocean is a crab. A crab has a hard outer shell on its claws and its body and its legs as well. My last friend that I brought with me today is a clam. Yes, the clam has two outer shells, and inside there is that clam. The outer shell protects the inside, the soft part of the living clam. While I've been here today, I've also found some shells at the beach. Let's take a look down here. I brought my bucket with me, and I found some things that were homes for animals. Right here, here's a beautiful scallop shell. long ago, could have been a few months ago, could have been a few weeks ago. There were 2 of these shells, and inside was a soft scallop that lived in there. He is not there anymore. I'm going to leave this right here for someone. Another shell that I found here at the beach is a quahog shell. A quahog lived inside of this. This is the home for a quahog. A quahog has 2 of these shells, and it's hinged up here. Another shell I found is this great mussel shell. A mussel, a soft mussel, lived inside part of this shell. There's another piece that's missing, but this would be hinged too, like the scallop shell and the quahog. Last but not least, I found this great snail shell. This is a water snail. And he would live right inside. He's not in there now, I checked. He must have outgrown this home and went to find another bigger one. He left it for another creature. Here's a wonderful little baby scallop shell, nice and tiny. This one also had another one hinged to it, and the baby scallop was inside. And over here, you see some great seaweed. They're not shells, but seaweed can be a home for small fish. It can hide from the other bigger fish or crabs that might want to eat it. And look what we found here. Sydney found a sea sponge. This also could be a hiding place or a good home for a tiny little fish. So thank you today for joining me on my Animals Home adventure. Animal homes are everywhere, but the best place to find animal homes, especially in the summer, is at our beach. Thank you for joining me. And remember, keep on reading. Bye, guys.